Hey everybody, Sneaky Narcotic, back at it again with another YouTube video, and in today's video we're going to be going over some more Ikoria spoilers. There was a lot of spoilers dropped today and I cannot wait to get into them, but before we do guys, let me please ask y'all to like, share, and subscribe. It would mean so much to me and I would greatly appreciate it. But without further ado, let us get into our first spoiler of the day with Brokos, Apex of Forever. It is 2 generic, a black, a green, and a blue for a legendary creature Nightmare Beast Elemental, and it is of mythic rarity. It has Mutate for 2 generic, a blue or a black mana, and 2 green mana. If you cast the spell for its mutate cost, put it over or under target non-human creature you own, they mutate into the creature on top, plus all abilities from the ones below. And it has Trample, and it says you may cast a Brokos Apex of Forever from your graveyard using its Mutate ability, and it is a 6/6. So, I really like that this card is kind of that repeatable threat as a Mutate. Now, granted, from what I understand, to mutate, you do have to have another creature available to mutate onto. So, Brokos being able to mutate onto a creature might be an issue, but for it to become a 6/6 that you can instantly bring back with Trample and put it on top most of the time, unless you have a better creature to target, this card is pretty good in my opinion. So yes, I love this card. I'm pretty sure it's going to see play. It might even be a cool commander to see a brew around, possibly. The next card on today's list is Chevill, Bane of Monsters. It is 1 black, 1 green legendary creature human rogue, and it has a mythic rare. It has Death Touch at the beginning of your upkeep. If your opponent controls no permanents with bounty counters on them, put a bounty counter on target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. Whenever a permanent opponent controls with a bounty counter on it dies, you gain 3 life and draw a card. So, this is pretty good. It basically rewards you for playing green and black in green and black. And by that I mean, right now Golgari is all about targeted removal, especially on planeswalkers and creatures, and being able to control the board that way. But the one thing that I feel like it's been missing personally in my Gruul deck is life gain and drawing cards. So now that it's able to do both of that with the bounty counters and with Chevill here, I think that this is possibly going to be a really good feasible deck, is just Golgari control. Of course it might end up in Abzan with some board wipe mechanics, but we'll see. Nethroi, Apex of Death. 2 generic, 1 white, 1 black, 1 green. Look at that for Abzan color. Creature legendary, Cat Nightmare Beast, and it is of mythic rarity. It has Mutate for 4 generic, 1 green or white, and 2 black mana. It has Death Touch and Lifelink. Whenever this creature mutates, return any number of target creature cards with total power 10 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. And it is 5/5. Now, I haven't really had time to study and see how Mutate goes with Commander, as, like, let's say you have Nethroi for your Commander, but if it works the way that I think it probably does, you can Mutate Nethroi onto a creature from the command zone, and so continuously being able to do this in tricolors is going to be really good. There's a card now, Marine of Clan Neltoth, which just got reprinted in a Secret Lair, actually. But she has combos just for being able to do basically what this card does, but once a turn at the end of the turn. So if you can continuously be able to mutate this creature, and of course it doesn't have to be Nethroi, you can have another creature on top of Nethroi, so that Nethroi's ability just goes on another creature's body, and that could really work. I see it working really well. Yet alone the Death Touch Lifelink 5/5 for 5 is also pretty good. So I'm very excited to see how this affects standard. But as far as commander, you'll definitely see Nethroi Apex of Death. I personally don't have an Abzan commander, and I'm looking into this one for my Abzan commander. So pretty neat card here. Fiend Artisan, a hybrid mana of black or green, and another hybrid mana of black or green. Creature, nightmare, mythic rare. Fiend Artisan gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard. That's nothing new, but still pretty good. The next ability is pay X in a hybrid mana of green or black, tap it, sacrifice another creature, search your library for a creature card with converted mana cost X or less, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery. So it's a 1/1 on top of that, but the ability is super insane. It basically says if you want to go ahead and cast a creature from your library, just pay 1 extra mana and tap this creature and sacrifice another creature. I feel like there's another card that does that, and I always wanted to say the card's name was Food Chain, but I don't think it is Food Chain. I'm pretty sure it's something else. But this is going to be really cool because I hate to bring up Abzan again, but there's this idea that I want to brew around from today's cards, and I'll show you in the future what I'm talking about. But basically making 1/1 humans, and then sacrificing them to make these to get some big monsters out, like using Fiend Artisan to do that. Using Nethroi to get your sacrifice creatures back if you have to sacrifice actual creatures, not just tokens, would be really cool. And I'm excited because honestly it's been a while since I've seen an Abzan deck, but it might end up being Abzan tokens again, which Abzan tokens was awesome back when I was using it. I think that was back when Saffrelings was in standard, is when Abzan tokens, or maybe that was Abzan Knights. But anyways, point being is I'm very excited to see these two cards especially together. Our next card is exactly the card I wanted to talk about next. General Kudro of Drannith. 1 generic, a white and a black. Legendary creature, human, soldier, mythic rare. Other humans you control get +1/+1. An anthem for humans. Awesome. Or a lieutenant, or however you guys say it. An anthem on a body is how I say it. Whenever General Kudro of Drannith or another human enters the battlefield under your control, exile target card from an opponent's graveyard. Pay 2 generic, sacrifice 2 humans, destroy target creature with power 4 or greater, and it is a 3/3. So, General Kudro kind of builds around this whole idea of what I think this set's setting up is a human tribal, but not just human like actual human creature cards, but human token tribal. And I'm really excited to see how well that goes over between the last 2 cards I mentioned and this card. I think human tribal could be pretty cool. And I know, okay, going back to mutate, I know from what the the reminder text reads, you can't mutate a non-human creature. So that's why I understand you're going to have to kind of mix and mingle, beast creatures with human creatures, but I think it's doable, and I think it will really work well, really meld together, which is kind of cool because it will fit the lore of this plane with how creatures and humans bring out the best in each other by bonding, and that's gonna be pretty cool. So as far as this, I wanted to mention one last interaction. The Kaya Planeswalker, not the one from War of the Spark, but the one from actually the Ravnica sets. I can't remember if it's Allegiance or Guilds of Ravnica that had Orzhov in it, but basically that Kaya builds upon exiling cards, so General Kudro can help you with that, and he's also the same CMC as that, so I don't think that would be too far-fetched to try to do a Kaya Exaltation deck, which is what I named mine, and try to use General Kudro to exile some cards just by being on the battlefield, and entering other humans onto the battlefield. Our next card, King Kong. Yes, that's Kogla, the Titan Ape. 3 generic, 3 green mana, and yes, I believe that the Toho version of this will be King Kong, because I know you can't see it. I've darkened the picture so you can see the text better over the picture, but King Kong is holding a little human right here, and there's these, I don't know, lack for a better word, let's call them helicopters. They're probably ornithopters, but let's call them helicopters. Flying around them, just like in the movie, there wasn't helicopters, but there was planes, and, well, these don't look like planes. But anyways, when Kogla, the Titan Ape, 3 generic, 3 green mana, legendary creature ape, it is a rare. When Kogla, the Titan Ape, enters the battlefield, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Whenever Kogla attacks, destroy target artifact or enchantment defending player controls. Pay 1 generic and 1 green, return target human you control to its owner's hand. Kogla gains indestructible until end of turn. So this is going to be pretty interesting. If you can find some humans with good ETB effects, Kogla can help you with that. But just on top of that, if you're playing a human token build, and you can continuously make Kogla indestructible, and especially with the keyword tokens that are in this set, you give it Trample probably, give it Vigilance probably, you can make Kogla this nice Titan indestructible creature that just is a big nuisance on the board. So I dig it. I think Kogla will definitely see some play in some type of human tribal, just as maybe a 4 of, but the only other creature other than human, you know? So we'll see. It's a 7/6, by the way. Labryinth Raptor. 1 black, 1 red, creature, nightmare, dinosaur. It is rare and it has Menace. When a creature you control with Menace becomes blocked, defending player sacrifices a creature blocking it. As 1 black, 1 red, creatures you control with Menace get +1/+0 until end of turn, and it itself is a 2/2. Now, there's this big thing I've been trying to figure out how to do for a long time, and is that it's to have creatures with Menace gain first strike and or Death Touch. And I've been still trying to figure out using the new Nahiri from War of the Spark, and I don't think it's really working out, but I'm hoping this is a key card to add to that deck to profound upon it for some little janky standard deck. But as far as the card itself, I don't know its ramifications in Commander. As far as standard, there's... trying to remember the card in black that I see with Menace a lot. I really don't see Menace too often at the moment, but possibly, especially with the keyword counters going around, you can give creatures Menace, and this card might become relevant with that. Other than that, a 2/2 Menacer for 2 is not the best, and the whole fire breathing on top of that, the team fire breathing, is it's Voracious Greatshark, 3 generic, 2 blue mana creature shark, and it is rare. It has flash. When Voracious Greatshark enters the battlefield, counter target artifact or creature spell, and then and then it's a 5/4. So a 5/4 counter spell, not bad, honestly. I think this would definitely see play in Commander just to be able to counter a creature or an artifact spell, right? And we all know that there's at least 1 creature spell in Commander, so I think this will definitely see play in Commander just to be able to have a body and a mono blue deck. And it's a decent sized body at a 5'4" like that. Plus, I love the look of it. I wish it was Jaws. I know it's not. I don't think Jaws was a part of the Godzilla universe, and I don't think they had a shark as far as I can remember. But yeah, so I wish it was Jaws, and I'm going to call it Jaws, but it's not, sadly. Our next card is Death's Oasis. 1 white, 1 black, 1 green, enchantment, rare. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. Then return a creature card with lesser converted mana cost than the creature that died from your graveyard to your hand. Pay 1 generic, sacrifice Death's Oasis. You gain life equal to the greatest converted mana cost among creatures you control. So, whenever a non-token creature you control dies, put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. Then return a creature card with lesser converted mana cost than the creature that died from your graveyard to your hand. So, it's going to be milling yourself a lot, and that would be cool for like an Abzan, I'll call it an Abzan Resurgency deck, where you're bringing creatures back from your graveyard a lot. And it helps you do that in a way. I'd be worried in Standard to mill myself out whenever a non-token creature dies, and you're bringing non-token creatures back from your graveyard. But there's going to be this really weird cascading effect where you'll have, let's say, a 3 CMC creature die, and you have a 2 CMC creature brought back from that. Then your 2 CMC creature dies, and you bring back a 1 CMC creature, and let's say for a fact somehow you found an Ornithopter, and you bring back your Ornithopter over and over again. And that's just basically how this is going to work out. I'm really interested to see if there's some type of enter the battlefield effects that will work. I know that there's, because this includes white and black, it has, of course, Cruel Celebrant, it has Corpse Knight, it has in Historic, it has Slimefoot, it has Poisonous Archer. I think it's Poisonous Archer. I forget the one that pings but is in green and black. And yeah, so there's going to be a way to be playing like Aristocrats with this, and I think that's going to be pretty good. Now, the 1 generic, sacrificing it and gaining life equal to the greatest converted mana cost among creatures, blah blah blah, that's going to be kind of like a saving grace. Yeah, keep 1 open just in case your opponent somehow kills you. Just somehow straight up says, hey, you're dead. Well, I might not be. So, I don't know about that. But the rest of this enchantment seems pretty good. And I'd like to see how to build around this the best. We'll try it out. I'm saving back my my coins on MTGA right now just to be able to buy as many packs as I can when this becomes available, and maybe hold back some money. I am still working right now, so hopefully that'll help me out with this as well. Our next card, Mythos of Nethroi. 2 generic and a black, instant, rare, destroy target non-land permanent if it's a creature, or if black and white was spent to cast a spell. And then the shadow took living form, and the shadow devoured the man whole, body, mind, and soul. Tales of the Ozolith. I love that we finally get some flavor text. I hate that they have these really wordy cards, because we haven't been getting a lot of flavor text to tell us about Ikoria, and we're going to have to focus on our commons, which I'm not reviewing at the moment, and our uncommons to really tell us a lot about the plane, especially since it's the first time we visited it. But as far as the card goes, it's kind of like it begs you to play Tricolor, and it's like the 5th Abzan card today, but it begs you to play Tricolor, and I dig it in a way. I do. It's going to be harder to get off that secondary effect, the destroy target permanent, if green and white was spent to cast a spell, especially in Standard. So I don't know if you'll be able to do this consistently on turn 3, but at least it's still a murder, basically, on turn 3 if you don't. So I think it'll be playable. I think it'll definitely be playable. Mythos of Snapdax. Snapdax. 2 generic, 2 white mana, sorcery, rare. Each player chooses an artifact, a creature, an enchantment, and a planeswalker from among the non-land permanents they control, then sacrifices the rest. If black and red was spent to cast a spell, you choose the permanents for each player instead. This is super evil. It reminds me of a card from War of the Spark, Single Combat, and I believe Single Combat basically said each player sacrifices all creatures and planeswalkers except for one. And so I think that this card is going to be super interesting to see played. It's in Mardu, red, black, and white. And so it's going to be harder to see that right now because the only really Mardu-esque card right now is, or deck is Knights. There was Mardu Aristocrats. It's kind of gone away, but it might come back just to see this as like some sort of finisher. You have your Judiths, you have your Cruel Celebrants, your Corpse Knights, I'm trying to think, your Voracious Vampire. I think it's that vampire that basically that does the same thing as Corpse Knight, except for I don't think it gained you life. Cruel Celebrant, but it doesn't gain you life. So you're gonna have all those cards, and if you're building out a board state and kind of causing the stalemate where you're just staring at each other, this would be a great way to finish it off. So those are the two instances where I could see this possibly being played. I don't know at the moment, but hopefully something good. Dirge Bat. I believe that's how you say that, Dirge Bat. But it is 2 generic, 2 black, creature, bat, rare, has mutate for 4 generic and 2 black, has flash, has flying. Whenever this creature mutates, destroy target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls, and it's a 3/3. Now, paying 6 to mutate this is a little bit insane, but hopefully you can find something else to mutate on top of this, and that way this creature will consistently be able to target, destroy your creatures and planeswalkers of your opponents. As far as the creature itself, 3/3 flying is for 4 is actually not that bad, but just the mutate ability is super good. And I do appreciate that this card also has flash, because there's a bunch of times where I've been sitting there getting bombarded by a flyer, and then if I bring out my flyer, let's say for instance in black where I don't play a lot of flyers, then all of a sudden they are holding back that flyer and it's still being a nuisance, but it's just not hitting me as much. So it's good to have that flash effect just to try to kill a creature an opponent controls, like a Healer Hawk or something like that. So Everquill Pheonix, 2 generic, 2 red mana, creature, Phoenix, has rare, is a rare, has mutate for 3 generic and a red, has flying. Whenever this creature mutates, create a red artifact token named Feather with 1 generic, sacrifice Feather, return target Phoenix card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped, and it is a 4/4. I am going to admit this now, ever since Ixalan, I've been very, very wary of the Phoenix creature type, because every single time they bring a Phoenix to me, it feels like the Phoenixes could potentially be broken. Going back to Theros, for instance. Theros had, God, I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it was and of course my phone's nowhere near me right now. It was the effect that lets you bring back cards, Unchained, I believe. It was the effect that lets you bring back cards from your graveyard, but you had to exile other cards. So they had a Phoenix on there, and that Phoenix was probably the most playable Phoenix out of all of them. Here it is. It is Escape. Escape. I don't know where my brain just went. But yeah, that was probably the most playable Phoenix, or playable Escape card out of the Escape cards. But also, they had a Phoenix way back in Ixalan called Rekindling Phoenix. And Rekindling Phoenix, I remember in Standard, it went up to like $25 a pop because that card was so good, because it left back a little token that brought it back to life. And what does this do? It brings back, it leaves a little token that, for one generic, you bring it back to life. So I think this card's going to see some play. I'm very worried that it might be the only good red card to see play, so hopefully not. Although I don't like red myself, other than big red, so hopefully this helps bring back the big red archetype as well. I'd really appreciate that. Speaking of bringing back big red, Yidaro, Wandering Monster, 5 generic, 2 red for a legendary creature dinosaur turtle, and it has rare. It has trample and haste, and it's an 8/8. As cycling, for 1 generic and 1 red, you can discard this card and draw a card. When you cycle Yidaro, Wandering Monster, shuffle it into your library from your graveyard. If you've cycled a card named Yidaro, Wandering Monster 4 or more times this game, put it onto the battlefield from your graveyard instead. And it's, again, an 8/8. So, basically this card rewards you for continuously cycling cards. And I kind of dig that, because cycling, that's one of the issues with cycling, is you're going to need a payoff, but you're also, most of your payoff cards are going to have cycling. So, if you're continuously cycling over and over again your payoff cards to try to get more payoff cards, then eventually you don't get any payoffs. So I appreciate Yidaro because it rewards you for cycling. So yeah, I think this card's going to be really cool, but definitely playable, because basically after 4 times of cycling, it becomes a 2-drop, you know? So, yeah, definitely playable, definitely a card to look out for. Our next card, Gim Razor. Gym Razor, I'm sorry, not Gim Razor, Gym Razor. 3 generic, 1 green, creature beast rare, has mutate for 1 generic and 2 green, reach and trample. Whenever this creature mutates, destroy target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls, and it is a 4/4. So yes, this is your Thrashing Brontodon, but in mutation form, meaning you can over and over do the ability. And so, I definitely, based off of Thrashing Brontodon, think this will see play. Definitely. In fact, like, the mutate cost is basically, yeah, the same CMC as Thrashing Brontodon. Mythos of Vadrok. 2 generic, 2 red, sorcery rare. Mythos of Vadrok deals 5 damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures and or planeswalkers. If you play white or blue, was spent. If you pay white or blue to cast a spell, until your next turn, those permanents can't attack or block, and their activated abilities can't be activated. So you effectively pacify them for a turn. I don't like that ability, honestly. The 5 damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures or planeswalkers, so that's pretty good. Creatures and planeswalkers. I don't like the wording on that. Creatures and or planeswalkers. Okay, I guess that just means that you can divide it amongst planeswalkers and creatures at the same time, not 5 damage for creatures and 5 damage for planeswalkers, because that almost looked confusing for the second there. But yes, so, I think for 4 mana at sorcery speed, 5 damage is not that much. Being able to pay Jeskai for it is not a good ability just to pacifize it for a turn. So I don't think, honestly, Mythos of Vadrok will see any play. Our last rare, in English anyways, is Drannith Magistrate. 1 generic, 1 white, creature, human, wizard, rare. Your opponent can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hands. Our sanctuaries must be beacons of reason and calm, or else they will fall. And it is a 1/3 human wizard. Lovely, beautiful art. I don't know if this is... It feels the face feels familiar to me as maybe a YouTuber, but I don't know if this is based off of a YouTuber, so don't quote me on that. The number one thing you're going to see this card played in is Commander, because in Commander, you have at least one card on the table you're trying to cast from outside of your hand, and that would be the Commander. So, Hate Bears will probably play this. The little 2/2 Hate Bears will definitely play this. Pillow Fort, Tax decks, Stacks decks, however you want to put it, they're all going to play this just to make sure that you're not playing your Commander, you're not playing cards in general. That's the whole point of their deck. So this will definitely see that. Now in Standard, there's like maybe one or two right now stack cards. There's Hushbringer, I believe there's an Archon. There's the Memorial to Nicol Bolas. I forget the name of that. The War Memorial, I believe. I don't know. But yeah, there's a couple cards that make it a little harder to play Magic, but it doesn't stop the game. It doesn't slow it to an absolute halt like it does in Commander. So I definitely think Drannith Magistrate will be seen play, but not in Standard. Before we get into our other rares in translation, there is a good amount of uncommons. I'm going to try to go through them quickly. I understand this video is going to be long. I apologize. Please stick with me. Like I said, there were so many spoilers today. I had to fit them all in. So, Grim Dancer, 1 generic, 2 black, creature, nightmare, uncommon. Grim Dancer enters the battlefield with your choice of 2 different counters on it from among Menace, Death Touch, and Lifelink. Most monsters are more frightening when they skitter unseen in the dark. Most. And it's a 3/3. So, in my opinion, a 3/3 for 3 Death Touch Lifelinker is pretty good. There's a 1/1 vampire in black that I'm blanking on the name, of course, because the record button's on. It has lifelink and Death Touch, and she sees a lot of play, so I can imagine this can see a lot of play having, again, Death Touch and lifelink. But honestly, I'd rather go for the Menace and Death Touch, so that way you can definitely take out 2 of their creatures if they want to block you for that Menace, because you can claim, when you declare damage dealt, after blocks are declared, you basically you declare at least 1 damage on each creature that's blocking, and that way Death Touch takes care of the rest. And I, of course, did not understand that until I saw that happen in Arena. Arena gave me the option, and I was like, oh my, why would I not do that? That's pretty cool. So, my personally, Death Touch Menace would be my combo here. Sprite Dragon, 1 blue, 1 red, creature, fairy dragon. A fairy dragon, and it is a 2-drop fairy dragon. I would like to mention that it is a fairy dragon, and it's a 1/1 with flying and haste, and it's uncommon. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Sprite Dragon. Size of a pixie, rage of a hellkite. Yeah, you better tell me it's the size of a pixie for a 1/1 freaking dragon, though. Like, this, I would imagine Drake, but never a dragon, and it's definitely on colors for a Drake. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Sprite. It's definitely in the colors, because the Saheeli Ray from War of the Spark is basically the same way. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Sprite Dragon. This could belong in the draw a second card per turn, something happens deck. I'm trying to think of any other cards. This could definitely see play in a Rao Zarek deck. A Rao Storm Conduit deck. That's what I'm going for. The Rao Storm Conduit deck. And a Jumpstart deck for that matter. Basically most Izzet decks, because most Izzet decks are trying to spell sling. This could see play. Now, the only thing that I wish was different about this card, and maybe that would have bumped it up to a rare, is that I wish it was a Fairy Wizard Dragon, so that way you can play Historic Wizards with a Flying Haster that says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on it. But, hey, if wishes and wants were candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. Primal Empathy. 1 generic, 1 green, and a blue. Enchantment uncommon. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card if you control a creature with the greatest power among creatures on the battlefield. Otherwise, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature you control. Now, at the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card is especially for 3 mana on par with a very played card in black, Phyrexian Arena, except you don't lose the 1 life to do it. So I think this card, based solely off of that, will see play. Now, the +1/+1 counter on a target creature you control, getting your creature bigger per turn, especially in green and blue, is really worth it. Especially in Standard right now, because we still have Simic Ascendancy to try to win off of our +1/+1 counters. We still have Hydra's Growth, which doubles your +1/+1 counters, I think, on your upkeep. Which, of course, you can stack it to where you add the +1/+1 counters, then double the +1/+1 counters. So, I definitely think this card will see play. Weirdly enough, definitely think this card will see play. So, yes. Back for more. 4 generic, 1 black, 1 green. 1 black, 1 green. Instant uncommon. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. When you do, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. How can you be sure you pierced its heart? Do you even know where its heart is? Trandon... Budotha Poacher. I think that's how you say that. Excuse me. I'm not a fan. It's a Bond of Revival, or I'm trying to remember the other card. It's like Blood something. I think it's not Blood Pact. But anyways, I think it might actually be Blood Pact. Hold on. Anyways, so whenever you do, it fights up to 1 target creature you control. Now, it doesn't give you an option there. So you do have to fight a creature if 1 is available, you don't control. So if I don't like this, because it feels like targeted removal, but you want to target a creature that's going to keep your creature on the field. You're also going to want to target your own creature that can survive on a battle against another creature. So I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it. Auspicious Starrix. It is 4 generic and a green creature, Elk Beast. Elk Beast, cool. An uncommon, mutate for 5 and a green. Whenever this creature mutates, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile X permanent cards, where X is the number of times this creature has mutated. Put those permanent cards onto the battlefield and pay, and it's a 6/6. So, all the ones that are not permanent cards will go into your exile pile. So, this card can get pretty insane. The first time it happens, it will be 1. Next time 2, and so on and so forth. I just don't know if Mutate is going to be good enough for this to really be that great. I do want to mention that if it does not allow for another mutation to happen off of its ability. So if you get a Mutate creature, well, your Mutate creature is now, it's now a creature and not just a mutation. So I don't mixed feelings for sure. General's Enforcer. 1 white, 1 black, creature, human, soldier, uncommon. Legendary humans you control have Indestructible. Pay 2 generic, a white, and a black. Exile target card from a graveyard. If it was a creature card, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. More stubborn than Drannith's walls, and it is a 2/3. Sorry, I had to take a swig from a water bottle real quick. I like that they're trying to do this whole human tribal thing. I think it's a little bit ridiculous not ridiculous, a little too stringent that it's going for legendary humans, but it's understandable because it gives Indestructible. As far as playability, it makes tokens. It's a hefty cost to make tokens. So I don't know about that part, but as far as the creature itself, it's a 2/3, and then it has a static effect that gives another human possibly indestructible. So I think it's just play. It keeps the general alive that we just saw a minute ago, the commander alive. So I think purely if that card sees play, this card will see play, basically. Archiflagor, 5 generic, 2 blue mana. Creature Leviathan. Ooh, a Leviathan. Mutate for 5 in the blue. Whenever this creature mutates, tap up to X target creatures, where X is the number of times this creature has mutated. Those creatures don't untap during their controller's next untap step. So, you have freest creatures based off on how many times this card has mutated. It's good for an uncommon, but as far as playability, I just don't see it. I don't see it. Saval Crystal, 3 generic artifact uncommon. Now there's going to be a cycle of these. I think there's only 3, so I'll go through them kind of quicker. But this is the this is the Mardu, red, white, and black, and then so it can tap for Mardu, red, white, or black, and it has cycling. Pay 2 generic, discard this card, draw a card. The same crystals that root deep enough to pierce Savia's catacombs also soar high enough to change its weather. Very cool. These are the crystals that allow mutation, by the way, if you're looking for a little bit of the lore, from what I understood from the spoiler stream. Ketria Crystals, 3 generic, artifact uncommon, add green, blue, or red, that is Teamer. Cycling for 2, the dark of night never truly falls on Ketria, where abundant crystals bathe the land in their glow. Cool. Zagoth Crystals, 3 generic, artifact uncommon, adds this is not Abzan, this is Sultai, black, green, or blue, cycling for 2, from the fertile pack of Zagoth. Everything animal, botanical, and crystalline grows with ragged beauty. I do apologize for the wording on this. The cards I get from the website I use aren't the best. They're not the best, and I mean, honestly, spoilers are not the best to begin with, as far as quality of picture. Call of the Death Dweller, 2 generic and a black, sorcery uncommon. Okay, this card I continuously think is a little too good. Return up to 2 target creature cards with total converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Put a Death Touch counter on either of them, then put a Menace counter on either of them. The Living Fear Nethroi whispers the dead feed them. Okay, or the dead heed them, I'm sorry. So this card is pretty good. It brings back 2 creatures for 3 mana. Gives one of them Death Touch, gives one of them Menace. The only caveat is that they have to total 3. And it's up to 2. So you could just target one creature for 3 CMC. Particularly, I would put this in an Aristocrats deck, because a lot of Aristocrat cards are 3 or less, and so if you can continuously bring these 3 or less back to the battlefield, not to your hand, to the battlefield, then give them Death Touch or give them Menace, you're going to be in pretty good standings. So I definitely think Call of the Death Dweller will see play, maybe even just a mono black, just straight up mono black, it might see play. Glowstone Recluse, 2 generic, 1 green, creature spider uncommon, mutate for 3 generic and a green, has reach. Whenever this creature mutates, put 2+1/+1 counters on it, and it is a 2/3. This is your basic spider that they print in almost every set that has reach, but is at least a little more cool because it continuously can get bigger and bigger by mutating it. So I like it. I like it more as a mutation, of course, being able to give the actual creature, so putting this one on the bottom, giving the actual creature reach and getting it bigger and bigger. So possibly could see play because it continuously grows creatures and it's in green and has reach. So definitely one of the better spiders that they've printed. Reconnaissance Mission. 2 generic and 2 blue mana, enchantment uncommon. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. Cycling for 2 generic. I wonder the creatures that... God, that is so bad. But anyways, as far as this card goes, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. This card actually is in blue, so I'm trying to remember the legendary creature. I think it's something Uzumaki. In Tetsuko Uzumaki. Yes, that's the card. Tetsuko Uzumaki. Basically, Tetsuko, if you use him as your commander, you're playing a lot of creatures that have power or toughness 1 or less and can't be blocked. So this will continuously draw you cards off your unblockable creatures. And that's what I love about this card, is that if you can find some type of evasion, whether that's menace, flying, unblockable, you can continuously just keep drawing cards. And I really appreciate that it doesn't say just 1 or more of your creatures deals combat damage, because that's so annoying when it says something like that. But this card could be really good as far as standard. Maybe in like a Flyers deck. There is still possibility of a white-blue Flyers deck, so possibly in that. As far as anything else, I can't really think of anything else off the top of my head. Maybe Trample. Oh, okay, yeah. Maybe a Trample deck would be good. Possibly. Proud Wild Bonder. 2 generic, a red or green mana, and another red or green mana, creature, human, warrior, uncommon. Speaking of Trample, has Trample. And also works really well with Reconnaissance Mission, because it says, creatures you control with Trample you may have this creature assign its combat damage as though it weren't blocked. You're little now, yes, but one day your footsteps will make mountains tremble. Gavin Wildbonder. 4/3. So this creature itself will deal 4 damage at least once. And it makes Reconnaissance Mission work really good. So, a teamer, and not even a teamer because it has hybrid mana, would be really good to do with this. I really, because of how many times I've seen Trample in these newer cards, think that Wild Bonder would see play and might be sought after even as an uncommon. For a number of commander decks too, at least any that has the commander with Trample. Okay, I'm sorry, I wasn't finished with this. If you do bring this into commander, you may have this creature assign its combat damage. It basically gets around the whole rule. It would assign commander damage, and instead of trying to trample over creatures, it would just straight up assign commander damage, and that can be devastatingly good. This is definitely a card to look for. Dire Tactics. 1 white, 1 black, instant, uncommon. Exile target creature. If you don't control a human, you lose life equal to that creature's toughness. I will preserve life at all costs. I will stand alone against behemoths before I let them touch my city. I will hold the wall. Oath of the Coppercoats. I can't read that word in front of life there. But anyways, if you can see this picture, it's actually a Coppercoat trying to save the wall from this gigantic thing. And I think this is actually what happens right before the cinematic trailer, which, if you want to go check it out, I do have a cinematic trailer review, and it's in the playlist, so just go check it out. Just go check out the whole playlist. But anyways, yes, Dire Tactics is basically a D-Spark with a new cost to it, I guess I should say. If you don't control a human, you're gonna lose some life. So really try to play this with humans, and a human tribal is either gonna be white, black, or Abzan. So I think this is definitely going to see play, as much as D-Spark did anyways. Flourishing Fox, 1 white creature, Fox uncommon. Whenever you cycle another card, put a +1/+1 counter on Flourishing Fox, and it has cycle 1 generic. So day 1, the pups have taken to me. Day 4, big, so big, need additional security. Research notes, and that's a 1/1. That's kind of funny. He needed some security on day 4. I appreciate them trying to make Cycle better, and I think that they might finally make it to where Cycle is viable as a mechanic. I mentioned before, Amonkhet and God, Hour of Devastation had cycling, and it just was not good at the time. In fact, they were trying to do the opposite of +1/+1 counters with -1/-1 counters, and using cycling to try to do -1/-1, and it was just too much, too actually not enough. It was too little, and I really appreciate them trying to redeem cycling here. Channeled Force. So this picture I want to mention has Narset in it, saying that Narset will be in the set. A lot of people kind of predicted that, and of course this kind of proves it. 2 generic, a blue and a red, instant uncommon. As an additional cost to cast a spell, discard X cards. Target player draws X cards. Hopefully yourself, now that you've discarded so many freaking cards. Channeled Force deals X damage to up to 1 target creature or planeswalker. Few monsters challenged Narset. In fact, there you go. Narset after they sensed her power. So, other than the flavor text in the actual picture of this card, I don't like this card. You're discarding your hand to deal a amount of damage, and you can make another player draw those cards. I'd rather play Expansion Explosion if I was going to play this. So, nah. I'm good. Neutralize. 1 generic, 2 blue, instant uncommon. Counter target spell and has cycling of 2 generic. I love the idea of a cycling counter spell. I don't remember if they had one in the Omnicat block. I don't believe they did, but I could be wrong. And I love the picture for this. On Ikoria, reactive magic can make the difference between barely grazed and really dead. That's great. Boon of the Wish-Giver. 4 generic and 2 blue mana, sorcery, uncommon. Draw 4 cards, cycling 1 generic. There is no law of nature that I have not seen. Ilyana Break makes you wonder what is truly Ilyana Break. That's weird. Is truly possible, does it not? Rael the Everwise. This card, 6 mana, draw 4 cards at sorcery speed is kind of crap. Cycling 1 generic is not worth the card to play, to be honest. So I don't like this card. I really don't. Chittering Harvester. It is a 5 generic, 1 black creature, nightmare uncommon. Has mutate of 4 generic and a black. If you cast a spell for its mutate, cost, of course, whatever mutate does. Whenever this creature mutates, each opponent sacrifices a creature, and it is a 4/6. If you're able to mutate creatures very often, then this might be good. Otherwise, I'd rather just play the one earlier that says you can destroy target creature or planeswalker. I believe the bat would be a better choice, and I think it's also cheaper. So, probably not going to see play. Skull Prophet, 1 green and 1 black creature human droid. Droid. I've been watching too many Star Wars. Human druid, uncommon. Add a green or a black. Tap it, add a black or a green. Tap it, put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. I study bone because that's where the truth dwells. 1 monster is wiser than all that damp meat in your head. 1 monster knucklebone is wiser than all that damp meat in your head. 3/1. This almost reminds me of Glowspore Shaman being a 3/1 like that and being green and black. Depends on what you're trying to do. It's a mana dork, so it's probably going to see play, but other than that, it's just like kind of not good to me, and I'd also rather have a 1/3 than a 3/1. Valiant Rescuer, 1 generic, 1 white creature human soldier, uncommon. Whenever you cycle another card for the first time each turn, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. It has cycling of 2 generic. The floating city of Chevill has 2 rules. Don't have your crewmates back, or don't leave your crewmates behind, and don't mess with the guardians. No, guardiels. I think that's how it's said. God, I wish that this would have been better pictures. I'm so sorry, guys. I know that y'all can't. Y'all are probably killing it as much as I am right now. And it is a 3/1, by the way. I don't like that it's a 3/1 again, but what can you do? I do appreciate that it rewards you for cycling by only 1/1 white human soldier creature token per turn, but that can add up if you're continuously cycling, and cycling can happen at instant speed, so I definitely think this will see play. Migration Path, 3 generic, 1 green, sorcery, uncommon. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them onto the battlefield tap, then shuffle your library. And it has a cycling of 2 generic. I wish the cycling would have actually done half of it, but that would have been possibly too much to ask for. It's your basic ramp land, so I don't think it will really be that much of a game changer. I'm sure it'll see play though. Yes, they reprinted Essence Scatter, everybody. 1 generic, 1 blue, instant, common, counter target creature spell. I wasn't going to go over the commons, but I did see that they had this common reprinted, so I wanted to show it. I know the nightmares of Indatha seem scary, but when you break them down into their component parts, they're quite beautiful. Nera, Ketria, Elementalist. Our first translated card is a Mass Extinction. It is a sorcery, and it says choose odd or even. Exile all creatures with converted mana cost of the chosen value. 0 is considered even. So I love this card because it's kind of like chaotic filled, but there's also this whole thing with one of the creatures that says it's a companion, and it's only a companion if you have even CMC cards other than lands in your library. And so this kind of sticks on theme with that, because then you would say exile creatures with converted mana cost of odd, and your stuff's fine. So I think this will be really interesting, really cool to see in playtest. Our next card is Clash of Titans. It is an instant, it's an uncommon, it's 3 generic and 2 red to cast it. Target creature fights another target creature. Not that great. The next card, Indestructible Link, 4 generic and a black sorcery, uncommon. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a lifelink counter on it. Like I said, I think this is and I hope to God it was Blood Pact that I'm thinking of, or Bond of Revival. But instead of giving it haste like Bond of Revival, it gives it a lifelink counter. So probably see play. I don't like it, honestly. But we'll probably see play. This card did not come with a name when I was looking at it, but it is an instant uncommon. Target creature gains +2/+2 until end of turn if it's blocking. Instead, put 2+1/+1 counters on it. So either stays or it doesn't stay, but I always call these cards hat tricks. I don't know what other people call them. I call them hat tricks because they're always used to try to overpower, either get in the last 2 damage at an opponent or overpower a creature an opponent's trying to block for block or for a negative block situation. So I think that this is probably playable, but just mainly in sealed events like pre-release and draft. It also has cycling for 2, by the way. Yes, this card is pretty cool. Monstrous Steps, 4 generic and a green for a sorcery uncommon. Target creature gets +7/+7 until end of turn. Another target creature must block it this turn if able. Ooh, +7/+7 is pretty good in making another target creature block if this turn is able. Another target creature too, must block it this turn if able. So it's basically a removal spell. And for +7/+7, it's got to be a hell of a creature that you're targeting to not be able to kill the creature that you're attacking with. It does have cycle for 2 though. Quartz Forest Crusher, creature dinosaur beast, has rare, has trample. Whenever one or more creatures you control with trample deal combat damage to a player, create an XX green dinosaur beast with trample where X is the damage dealt to that player. With that card that we previously saw comboed with this card, it's gonna be pretty good because you're dealing unblockable damage or basically assigning damage. The only thing is that the green dinosaur beast with trample. So the green dinosaur beast is also going to have trample and going to make elementals itself. It does say with 1 or more creatures, so that sucks, but whatever. That doesn't suck because that means it's going to make bigger and bigger dinosaur creatures because it's a combination of all the trample damage dealt for that turn. That's pretty good. Barrier Breach, instant, uncommon, 2 generic and a green, exile up to 3 target enchantments. That's insane. We'll definitely see play in Commander, especially because it also has cycling too. So even if you don't see some enchantments you want to kill on the field right then, exile on the field right then, you're able to discard this card and draw a card for some type of card advantage. Other than that, guys, that looks like the end of the spoilers. So, thanks for watching. I do hate that this was such a long video, but I appreciate y'all for sticking this close. If you want to see more spoiler videos, please hit the playlist. Check me out every day. I will be putting up spoiler videos. Also, if you're confused by the mechanics and want to learn more about them, I will leave a description in the description below my video where I go over in the most simplistic of ways how these mechanics work for Ikoria. So please go check out that video as well. And other than that, guys, this has been Sneaky Narcotic, signing off.